Come on.
Like veneers or whitened?
Yeah, veneers
Nice.
in Mexico.
Oh, nice.
Can you guys hear me well, or should I put my headsets on?
I can hear you.
You guys can hear me loud and clear.
Not loud. It's like
Is it
a
is it like
low.
is it low? Okay, then let me put my headsets on. It's usually better.
What's up, CJ, Mike, Salvadori, Jay? What's up? Hi, CJ, his little baby.
Morning, guys.
What's up,
What's
everybody?
up?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Is it better? Is
Yeah,
it
much
better?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hi, little
Who's that
baby.
beautiful
that's my
child?
oldest daughter. She's 2.
You know what? I cannot hear you guys. Why?
Oh, we can hear you.
Your speaker is
CJ,
not
I'm in
working
Jersey. I'm
properly. Your
stopping
voice
by to
can
see
still
my
be recorded,
niece.
but the voice of the other person cannot. Okay, continue record. Why not, sir? Okay, some kind of an issue here. I think, okay, I have to leave it at that. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So who was that little baby? CJ, was that your daughter?
Yeah,
His oldest.
it's my oldest daughter.
I,
The other one's taking a nap right now.
I remember when Olivia was, how old was she? Like maybe 3. And I just joined the Pace Morby group. And I would she would be sitting right next to me, and I would try to make sense of all these creative deals. Good times, I remember.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It
Is
makes it
Olivia the oldest?
interesting.
Olivia is the oldest. She's 7 now, and Mia is 5. Yeah.
You're gonna have any more?
You know what?
Yeah.
I would like to if I had the time, the capacity, and maybe 1 or 2 mates. Then yes.
Yeah.
But
So much
if you don't
hard.
have 2 mates and all these other things going on, it's just, going just on vacation, how much more that is I mean, the airport, hotel. Like at this point, if I would have another one, I would have to get a second room, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have family. Anyway, Salvador, nice to see you. I mean, I think you came in a while ago, then you disappeared, probably made a lot of money, and you're now back saying like, hey, let me flash a little bit. How are you, man?
Let's
Oh,
go.
man. I wish it was like that, but we did get some deals closed. It's just that, I don't know, time flies by, man, honestly. And I do miss being in the group. I learned a lot. I mean, everything you taught me has it been
Really?
implemented. And we have some deals under contract. So that's awesome. Appreciate it.
That's that's
Really, really.
amazing. You know what? Because when we just started this group, that's when you had joined and you participated a little bit. And it's
Yeah,
nice to hear that you actually learned from those very early stages and you actually implemented and did help you. Is that
I
right?
did. I did. That is correct. That is correct, man. So much valuable information in this group. Not lie
Cool.
about that.
I
Thank you for
love
that.
that. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. All right, so we have some more people triggering in. Come learn or chase cloud. Your call made some, it impacted somehow because people are actually triggering in now. Good. Oh, Jace baby too. Oh my gosh, guys, you guys
I
really like putting me on the
know.
spot. If I see more babies, it's gonna happen tonight. I have to go to my wife and say, you know what, it's time. We're not gonna wait any longer.
Kevin, my bros in the house. Kevin, all my bros. Jay,
Hello,
boys,
how's it
man.
going?
Yeah.
What's up, Kevin? So good. I brought Kevin here, so I'm so happy that he's getting
Appreciate it.
value.
Appreciate it.
Of
Definitely.
course, of
I'm
course,
happy to be a part of this group. I see a bunch of
of
winners.
course.
Oh yeah,
Hell yeah.
Kevin is from Florida, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Orlando,
he's a
Florida.
realtor in Florida.
Good to know. You know,
Thank you.
Florida, I have done a few novations, oh, several, many novations, and finding good realtors in uh, Florida is kind of difficult.
Oh yeah, they suck. All of them suck.
Yeah.
When I became a
Right?
wholesaler, they all turned their back on me.
Finally,
Kev,
somebody admits it. Yeah.
no, and Kev, what did I
Oh
say?
yeah,
I
I don't
said
even
make
like the
sure.
realtors in out here.
Yeah. Kev, and remember I said, tell everybody you're available for novations because people need
Oh yeah,
somebody
definitely.
in.
Yeah, let me know, man. Because we're part of the group, we work something out. I won't charge you guys. We all got to make some money.
No, no, no,
So
no,
that's why.
no. You
You
always have to
you always
charge, Kevin.
charge.
Kevin, the rule in this group is you always charge and you always
Yep.
pay. There
Yep.
is no favors.
Okay.
Okay, very, very important. We always in innovation deals pay our agents their full 3%, even if it comes from your end. That
Mm,
should be your philosophy. Why? Because then they know you appreciate them. Two, they
mhm.
will try to do their best because you're not bargaining. You're not trying to
Right.
try to act like you're not cheap. Three, they deserve it if they do a good job. At the end of the day, when you
Okay.
negotiate on a deal and you
Make a
make
call.
less than your agent, eat it up. You should have comped better.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Understood. All right. I love that. Respect that. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Because we all know what it means to play favors.
Mm,
It comes around and you pay 3 times as much at the end because of that
right.
one favor. So be careful with your favors.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So today we're going to do things a little bit different, okay? And what we're going to do is the topics were listed in our group. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about comping, what tools to use, maybe a comp calculator that Fatima is going to share with you guys, which is going to be great. There's 2 ways of comping, and Fatima is going to go with you about that, right? There's one way of just comping. I would say maybe traditionally, take your time, dig in deep, trying to be perfect, which I call usually being a bottleneck, and you might as well kill and waste your time. But you need to learn it because you need to know the fundamentals, right? And there's another way of comping where it is quicker, more efficient, and a little bit more risk taking. Okay. So Fatima is going to show you guys that. She's going to take over this call today and show you guys what she has in her tool belt. In addition, Fatima is very, very knowledgeable about memorandums, how to file them, where to file them, what to look out to, maybe different terminologies in different states that they use, that when you say memorandum, they're like, memo what, right? I'm sure anybody experienced here has been in these kind of positions. So she's a G in this. She's going to tell you guys exactly what a memorandum is and how you guys can take that, put that into your toolbox as a leverage in order to get paid at the end of the day. And I am going to, my mom came from Germany just last night, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time with her. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. And those people that haven't joined, we will put this on YouTube or we'll join later. But before I let Fatima take over, does anybody has any specific questions that they joined today in order to ask me something important, maybe a deal? I know I know I'm going to do an introduction today with one of my people in Houston, which no problem. But is there anything else anybody that wants to address or talk about?
Oh, that, I mean, Omid. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. Kevin, you can go first, brother. Oh, so I actually tried to file a memorandum yesterday, and I mean, I've done it before in the same county. The thing is that I went to my notary, he rejected the memorandum, and I was curious why he did that. But on the top of my memorandum, I can actually show it to you. Uh, I don't know if you could see, but at the top of my memorandum it says Taylor County, which is in Texas, and he said that it should be California for some reason. But I've done 3 memorandums for other property with him before and never had an issue. I'm not sure if it's something that I should worry about or switch just my notary.
You know, what I have learned in this bureaucracy of laws in different states and different notaries and different title companies and different attorney, for some reason, there is no cohesive law, a blueprint that anybody can follow. I have heard all of it. Like what you just said, I've experienced it. Where one notary says, you know what, I don't care, I'll do it, but it's not the right way to do it. And the attorney that you send it to or the county you send it to, they just accept it. Then I had situations where the notary says, yeah, this is perfect. That's how you're supposed to have done. Everything is perfect, blueprint ready for them, right? And then you send it to the county and the county says exactly the opposite. Unfortunately, this happens. However, with the person that you're talking to, how much authority do they have on the legalities, right? If it's just a notary, right, and they just have an opinion, I lean towards what the county or the attorney or the title company told me because they are the professionals within the field. I don't lean towards what the notary is telling me. So sometimes you have to be selective on who you're going to lean towards or listen to. And it might be a success or it might be a fail. It has happened to me that I have to file a memorandum 3 times until it finally went through, which, by the way, was in Houston, Texas. The first memorandum in Houston I filed, I had to go through many stages until I figured out a way to do it without having pushback.
Oh, I see. Awesome, awesome. So I guess I might just have to switch notary because, I mean, as of right now, they've been accepted with another title company. This is another title company I'm working with, but it was accepted the way that I set it up originally. So,
And what you also could do, Salvador, just change the title. You don't have to write the state up. You can write memorandum, notice of interest, and that's it. And then go with the rest. The notary probably previously did a poor job of actually reading and seeing it. And now that he read it, he's like, oh, this is Texas, jurisdiction paperwork. And I'm not registered to be notarizing in that state. And maybe that's why I don't want to do it, right? But if you just change the title, then it would solve that problem, I would assume. I do stuff like that all the time where I literally change something because somebody wants something different because their own peace of mind. As long as it doesn't change the legality of what I'm trying to achieve, I don't
makes
care,
sense.
right?
Awesome, awesome. I'll do those something like that then. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I'm sure Fatima later on when she now takes over and talks about it, I'm sure she has some input about that as well.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, Vad, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is about innovation and specifically, I think I asked you this before, but maybe if you can check with your agents, because we have a property listed as innovation. It's already listed. Agents are trying to get a hold of and schedule appointments with us, but whenever you mentioned before that that agents they're pre-vetting these clients if they are actually pre-approved for that amount to avoid multiple showings for people who are not even approved for this.
Yes, 100%. We have
Yeah,
this issue right now. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but whenever they reach out to us and they want to schedule in different times, we try them squeeze into only 2 time slots we have per week.
Good.
But like, I don't know how to prevent them, and I wanted to ask you if you can find and share information.
So
Like,
it's a little bit tricky. You're the director in this transaction. You direct, you orchestrate everything, right? And the people that do not listen and do not follow your guide, those are your bottlenecks in this transaction, basically. And I give you a perfect example that we have right now. It also depends on how collaborative the seller is with you. Okay, that's a big point as well. But I have right now 2 novations in Georgia. They triggered in both at the same time, really like one part apart or from 1 day apart from each other. One of them, it's already listed. We already cleaned the house, like did some landscaping, did some pressure washing. It has a good, nice curb appeal. And the seller is easy to work with in terms of like, yeah, just let me know which day and time, give me a 24-hour notice, and we facilitate that, okay? And all the rules that you just mentioned apply. Because even when the seller tells me, hey, show it every day, I don't mind, I never do that. Because I know I'm going to burn them out. I'm the more wise and smarter person in this transaction. I have experience, so why would I burn you out? I'm going to say, thank you, bud. I really appreciate that you're so flexible. I'll let you know. But then I'm going to go to my agent and say, hey, listen, I don't want more than 2-3 showings a week. Be very strategic and selective about it. And I don't want any mooches and any schmuck coming up, going to the property and wasting our time. You pre-bet them, you get a pre-approval. If they are not willing to give you one, tell them to kick rocks. I don't care. You have to protect also the seller. A lot of wholesalers make a mistake. They don't care about the seller enough. And that's when you're going to get burned. Because at the end of the day, you want the seller to be happy with the transaction, right? So at least do the bare minimum of thinking about them. Like if somebody comes home from 5 p.m. from work and is tired and had a hard day, do you think they want to do a showing at 6? Absolutely not. So be mindful about it, right? That is number one that you should focus on. Number two, now I'm going to the other one. Let's say the seller is a little bit more wary. Hey, I don't like all these people coming through. Okay. You have to, usually what I do with this is this, and her name is Shane, I think. Hey, Shane, I totally understand this is probably inconvenient to you. And we also don't want you to be inconvenienced. We want to make it as easy as possible for you. Now, you mentioned in our initial call, I did mention to you, we're going to do one of two things. We're going to either keep the property or resell it. And in order for us to move forward with our process, once in a while, we do want to have accessibility in order to show it to our contractor, partner, or somebody that is interested in it. But I want to make it as comfortable as possible for you. What would work best for you, Bot? And step back. Because you gave her some context and some explanation. You just didn't say, but we need to do showings. That's unfair, right? Nobody likes that. When you give her some context, usually they come a little bit down and they say like, hey, listen, I just don't like it. I just want you guys to buy it and be done with it. Have you guys heard that? Sometimes you hear that, right? Shane, I totally understand that, but unfortunately, that is a part of our process and policy. No, I can make it as comfortable as possible for you and take into account what you just said, but I need a reasonable amount of accessibility. And it could be as little as just once a week for a 2-hour window. You got to compromise, okay? And then at some point, she's going to say, okay, right? But you got to stay cool. You got to compromise, and you got to emphasize consistently that you want to make it as comfortable as possible for her, and you truly should try, right? So that is number two that you should focus on. Very important. Number three, and it comes down to buyers showing an interest and what they could do to harm your deal. And I'm giving you an example. When you have an agent, Kevin probably here will understand what I'm talking about. When you have an agent that is not willing to do extra work, what is the agent going to say when you say, hey, on the first 2-3 showings, I want you to be present because I want you to set up the stage for this seller to understand that we have her back. Oh, I don't have time. I'm too far away. Effing kick rocks. You're not willing to do what it takes to get my deal done. I told you at the beginning when I hired you, I need you to help me sell this deal, not get 3% and tell me you're too busy. You got to set boundaries with these people, right? When somebody comes at you and you want to understand what they're saying, like, why is it too far for you? Why is it 2 hours away from you? Why didn't you tell me? I told you I need somebody to sell this property for me, not just virtually list it for me and sit back and see what happens. That's not what I asked for. So in your due diligence process, when you hire an agent, take that in consideration and ask them, right? But let's say it happens and this person said, hey, I just have so many showings, this and this and this. You're going to say, hey, listen, about the reason why I hired you is because I believe we can do a lot of business in the future. But here's how it goes. Some sellers are more difficult, some sellers are not. And I already signed a listing agreement with you, and I don't mind moving forward with you. I'm not saying I'm going to cancel. Mention it so it triggers. You got to mention it so it triggers in their text cancellation that you're not afraid, you're not a pushover. But here's what I'm willing to do. I'm trying to compromise with you here, but the seller is a little bit uncomfortable right now because it's a new process she hasn't experienced yet. The first 2 showings, I have to have you there. If you have to drive 2 hours, I don't care. Get there. Because if you don't get there, it will cause friction. Why? And now I explain to you why it causes friction. Have you had buyers go to the property, the seller is there, and they take it upon themselves, ask him a lot of questions? And destroying a deal. And the seller, let's assume, is an old person that just loves talking. Oh yeah, the AC hasn't been working for the last 20 years. As a matter of fact, everything is shit here. Have you guys those sellers? Like, what are you doing, lady? Right? Have you guys heard up? So that's why always when you notice the situation is a little bit maybe tricky, you want your agent to be there and you tell your agent this, hey, I want you to set the stage for the people to understand what's up. When there's a question, it comes only through you. And be very nice to the seller in the first 1-2 times and tell her, hey, listen, if anybody comes and asks you questions, please just refer them to us. Tell them that they need to reach out to us. Don't engage with them in the conversation because they could compromise this transaction. And then they understand the personal touch, the personal contact to the seller is so important in order for you to gain credibility. People make this mistake quite often. They think they can do everything virtually. You can, but it comes at a price. As soon as you shake hands, you tear up the level of trust almost every single time. When you tear up the level of trust, they become more collaborative because now you're a gang. Your guys are collaborating together. It's very, very important, right? And last but not least, what could happen, which has happened actually to Sean, this guy, a buyer agent, even though we told him he should not talk to the seller and just refer all the questions to us, okay? And my agent, we had a closing simultaneously. He chose for it to be more important to go to the closing instead to this meeting. I give agents also an autonomy. I don't want to do everything. And I trust this agent. I've done with him probably over 60 deals now. But that's what he chose, right? So what he does, he goes to the closing and he thought everything will be fine. So guess what happened? It was the first showing. This guy shows up. Hey, this is blah, 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 blah. How much? Here's a paper of the listing. He printed the listing and gave it to the seller. Like she needs to know. I don't know what he was thinking. She looks at his listing and says, "Oh, my property is listed." You know, okay. And then this agent of the buyer tells her that he thinks that we are wholesalers and explains her this process. The seller calls me, and obviously I fixed the problem, going through the process again based on what I just told you guys, right? It's not a big deal. You can fix that problem. But then the buyer's agent calls me and they're talking about negotiations of an offer. And I told them, you can go fuck yourself. Even if you give me asking price, I'm not going to give you shit. Right? So it's up to you what your boundaries are on what your value level in your business are, on what you respect in your business. I could have easily entertained his conversation and maybe would have worked, maybe not. But that's just a boundary you don't cross with me. I told you exactly what to do, what not to do. I had an agent telling you. So it's not like it's coming from a nobody. An agent, if you're an agent, you know what you are appropriate to do and what not appropriate to do. When another agent tells you, this is how it goes, and you know the law and you go against it, you're literally doing something against your own policies. And you're harming the integrity of this transaction. I'm not going to work with you. You can come at asking. I'm going to show you my middle finger, literally.
Hold on. I have a question. So am I getting this right? So a buyer's agent came to the showing with a piece of paper printed out from the MLS that the listing is listed. And so he pretty much uncovered what you're doing to the seller?
It was not the paper. The paper is one thing because this could be just, I printed a paper. It's not a big deal. But then he told her that we are wholesalers and all this other thing, which is an absolute no-no. I'm giving you an opportunity to find a deal for your buyers. You have not spoken to me. You've spoken to a legit agent that has listed the property, has a listing agreement, and you are compromising this transaction. You have no authority, or it's very inappropriate. And then he talked about numbers with the seller. Every agent knows if this person is represented by an agent, Kevin, do you talk about numbers with the seller directly?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
And then he said, well, I was already there. What do you want me to do? The seller was there, not ask any questions. And I said, you are an idiot. The fact that you're telling me this, you're an idiot. Delete my number, never call me again. And again, I know people that would not say that, right? They would say like, oh, so as long as you want to make an offer, let's talk about it. No. The way you're rolling, I cannot even go through the negotiation process with you. I don't even trust you after the due diligence what you're going to do. You're a
It'd be a
liability.
nightmare moving forward.
You literally became a liability, and I don't even know you. No. Go. No wonder you guys are searching for the last 3 months. You suck. You're a bad agent. Your buyers, as a matter of fact, should fire you today because they lost on this deal. It's a beautiful house that they like because of you. And then obviously they are mute when you say that. They don't say a word because they know you're right. Okay, but I unpacked this, like I gave you like the whole process of how I think, how I've execute that. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Thank
Always
you.
think about the seller. Don't be selfish. Think about the seller. But if the seller becomes very unpleasant, is not cooperative, obviously you have to then become a little bit more selfish and try to figure things out accordingly. But most of the time, when you show empathy, when you are transparent, and when you talk with respect and you're trying to explain, 99% of them truly just come through. And then you have the 1% that is just losing it because they have mental issues, you know.
Yeah.
You have
And
those.
we also offered $50 per each appointment to the seller. She's happy, and we are kind of stuck to only 2 showings.
Yeah. What you also can do to mitigate that, very easy, if you have a little bit money and it's a good deal. Hey, Bart, listen, I see you're uncomfortable about this, and this is a little bit too much. I want to find a way to make this as smooth as possible, at least to give you some incentives. I have to check this with my underwriting team because I'm not sure if they're going to be okay with it yet, because for every property we have some kind of a budget. But how much are you paying for your mortgage? $1,200. Okay. If we continue making your mortgage payment throughout this transaction, would that reduce a little bit your stress level just to make sure you are not cost burdened through this, and it would maybe complement your transaction? 90% of them say, "Oh yeah, that would be a start. That's good." Okay, so if I would get this approved, you would like that? It would complement what you want to accomplish? Yes. Okay, you already know it's approved. Next day you say, "Hey, I have great news. They approved it," and now you gave money. When you give money, people feel obligated to follow through. Okay? Because now we did an exchange before the actual main deal. Now, human nature is you gave me something, I'm going to give you back. So
Reciprocity.
there are certain strategies that you use if you have a little bit liquidity. Okay. I know Fatima wants to take over. I'm here talking all these things here. Jay, go ahead. Where did Jay go?
You go to your mother.
No. Go. You're sitting here with your baby. You have a question. I want to hear it. I'm not
Oh,
going to go
man.
anywhere. Ask me.
Oh man, I've not been able to land one out of the 4 deals I got, not one novations. What are you saying? You want to
have
hear what I'm
practice.
saying?
Yeah, do it quickly. Go ahead.
Oh man, it sounds like a cash offer is not going to work. We have, I don't know if you're going to qualify. I have to check with the underwriting, but we have our retail buyers program, and here's how it works. We have so many partners across the state, contractors and people who like to fix and flip. It's probably not going to work for you, but possibly if your property qualifies, we could market your property to one of our partners. It will be marketed. We're going to need access, oh man, and we're going to need no less than 90 days. If we can get those 3 things, I think we can get closer to your asking. But that probably is not going to work for you, will it?
Well, I would for sure not end the question on a negative. That will probably not work for you. I would have more open-ended questions, maybe. Try that out. And you guys know I don't pitch it that way. I always make it very clear. I just tell them I either going to resell it or keep it. I didn't say the process of the resale process. I don't go too deep into it. Once we get to the contract section, that's when we get to the pre-marketing agreement about listing, I tell them, yeah, we will take pictures, we will put it on the market, just so the parties that are interested partnering up with us, they can see the property accordingly. Right? That's how I do it. If you want to go with the script that I gave you and with what you just did, I think you're doing it good, but I think you're going into it with a mindset of it's not going to work, and therefore you express yourself. It's not going to work for you, this and this. You don't want to go into that. You want to take away the bad and give her the good, and that's I think what you should emphasize. Look, I know this cash offer is probably not going to work for you. They came in much lower. I know you want 180, and I don't want to even give you the offer. It's not that good. But the great news is we have another program that is XYZ. You see, the great news is I'm making the other one shine. What we can actually do is, and not all properties qualified, and I'm actually surprised that this one did get qualified. So I'm excited about it. Let me go over the step-by-step process of how this is going to look like and how you're going to get to your $180,000. We're going to partner up with other people on this property, and we're going to take care of all the fees. There's no commissions for you. We're going to go as is. You're paying all the closing, and we're going to promise you that you're going to get into escrow $180,000. Would that sound good to you? Yeah. What is this other program? Well, nothing. It's actually this very similar, but instead of us being exclusively the only ones in this transaction, we bring other people in with us. That's the only difference, because at that point, we can leverage not just our funds, but also other people's funds in order to get you the $180,000 that you desire. And the good news is we can also be very flexible with timing. So if you need longer for the transaction, maybe 60 days, which most homeowners do need because sometimes they think everything goes fast and they might need a little bit longer, we can give you that buffer to not feel rushed throughout this transaction. Jay, do you think this would be something that you would entertain? Boom, right? I'm highlighting it. I package it based on what they want to hear and what they want to feel. And once they are interested, then you go into more details, right? You don't want to scare off somebody right off the beginning. When you go dating and you want to marry this girl because she's really, you're like, this is the one. You don't go right away and say, I want to get married. You'll be like, oh, who the hell? I don't know. I haven't even known you. Let's go on a date. And that's the same thing on the sales process. You want to get the hook. When the hook comes in, she shows interest or he shows interest. Then you expose yourself more, reveal more about yourself, because now you become interesting and be willing and able to listen to you. And now you can sell yourself and your value proposition. And then you can get into the paperwork and hopefully you don't get a divorce. Good? Cool. All right. Fatima, are you ready? She's like, I'm out. I cannot take this anymore.
I'm not doing it anymore, Omid. No,
Omid talks too much. His explanations are too much. I'm going to pin you as a host right now, or make you the host, which should be done right now.
Yeah.
And this will be recorded as it is. By the way, Jay, one more thing I want to say. Jay, where are you? I find your voice fascinating. It's perfect for advertisement, dude. Your voice is perfect for advertising. Can I have your voice for one of my Side Blast advertisements? Yes?
Forget about it, Omid. Of course, whatever you need. Whatever you
Charge him, Jay.
No,
I just do like an infograph, video infograph. I was thinking, I'm gonna give you a script and I want you to just read it. I think your voice is like on point. It gets the attention.
Done. I'll
Great for sales.
DM you offline.
I love it. I love it. Okay. I'm gonna record this. We're gonna post it on YouTube. Fatima is no host, and I'm gonna have this just running, okay? And I'm gonna just turn my camera and mute myself. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Omid.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. I agree with Omid, Jay. Your voice is very soothing as well. If ever you're just gonna read bedtime stories, let me know which ones because I'll download them, okay? That can be your side gig. Absolutely. All right, team. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about comping. right? So, what to look for, how to do it. Really, the goal is to build your confidence in your numbers, especially in today's market. The other thing we're going to go over are memorandums, memos, right? What is it? Should you file? How do you file? How do you release it, right? The goal for that is to figure out, hey, should memos be part of your business model? Okay. And if you say yes, what does that look like? So we're going to go ahead and get started, team. Please, if you have questions, let me know throughout. I'm looking at our little chat just in case, or raise your virtual hand, whichever you prefer. So we're going to go into comps, right? This is like, I'll call it comping 101. All right. So I'm going to give you some vocabulary. I'm going to give you what is traditional comping. So comps or comping, it really just is short for comparables, right? We're taking our subject property and the one that we're going to buy, get under contract, whatever you want to call, and we're looking for properties in the area that are like for like, right? AKA comparables. That is what a comp is. We're doing like for like. The 5 things that I want you to think about when you're comping and that you really want to consider is 1, number of bedrooms and bathrooms. 2, square footage of the house. This includes stories. Is it a 1-story? Is it a 2-story? Multi-level? It needs to be addressed. The third thing is the condition of the house. On a scale from 1 to 10, where is it, right? 1, throw it away, break it down. We just need another one, right? And 10 is it's immaculate. It has been reconditioned. We're putting it on the market. There's nothing the new buyer needs to do, right? The fourth thing is the lot size. What is the size of the property perimeter? And number 5, what is the area where this subject property lies? So those are the 5 things that you're going to be looking for, okay? With that, what I will say traditionally is when it comes to square footage of the house and when it comes to lot size of the house, traditionally you can give yourself a threshold of about 10%. Plus or minus 10%. Why? Because unless you're in a new build community and they're all cookie cutter houses, the likelihood that you're going to get exact square footage really, really decreases, right? The older the house is, the more rural it is, the likelihood is going to start to dwindle. So you want to give yourself a 10% threshold, plus or minus 10%. Again, these are all rules of thumb, team. Are there exceptions to this? Absolutely. You've been in the game enough. You can make anything work, right? But I want you to give you a good baseline. Um, any questions so far? All right, cool. So the other thing that I want to talk about is, all right, Fatima, so I'm looking at the house, I'm looking at the property, I'm looking at the area. How far can I go, right? What is the area and the radius of the property? Well, rule of thumb really is you want to stay in the same community. If you have to get out of that community because there's nothing moving, okay, radius is 0.5 miles, so half a mile. From there, you're like, oh, I can't, I have to push it 1 mile. 1 mile is really the sweet spot where you're still going to get pretty good comparables for your subject property. In rural areas or in suburbs, do you have to push it out? The answer is yes. But the further you go out from 1 mile, the less likely your comp is actually gonna hold. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You really half a mile in the same neighborhood, half a mile, 1 mile is really your sweet spot. Okay. From their team, you what I want you to think about when you're looking at your radius is, or your area is, do not cross major streets or highway. Okay, if you're crossing major streets or highways, the likelihood of that comp actually sticking is what I'll call it starts to reduce. The other thing is what I'll also say for those who work in the rural areas or who work in like Michigan that have a lot of train tracks, do not cross train tracks, okay? That's a rule of thumb. If you're crossing train tracks, it may or may not work for you, okay? So we want to stay no major streets or highways, no crossing train tracks, and what I'll also add is do not cross terrain. What do I mean by terrain? Where I'm talking about ponds, lakes, mountains, for my people in Nevada and Arizona, deserts, right? We're not crossing terrain because that does make a difference with your comps. One more thing I want to talk about, team, is okay, so at this point, we talked about the property itself, we talked about the area, we want to stay within the same terrain, right? We're not crossing major streets, things like that. How far past can I go for my comp? In this market, ideally, you want to stay within 30 days. Why? We are in a buyer's market. I'm going to tell you what a buyer's market is, how to tell if you are actually in a buyer's market, because 98% of America is. But if you're in that 2%, right, Northeast, you might be in a seller's market still, but it is shifting even there. Okay, so I'm going to tell you in just a moment, what does that look like? What do you look for? But basically, we want to stay within 30 days. I understand that some areas that we're working in, that's not possible, right? It's not moving. There's a lot of stagnant energy right now. It's just stagnant, it's standstill, they're not moving. Everyone's freaked out on what's going on, right? So, okay, 30 doesn't work. Let's try 60 days. Let's try 90 days. If I have to, let's push 6 months. But think about it. Can I go a year? Let's think about what happened a year ago. Does a comp from a year ago really help me today? No, right? It's absolutely drastically changed from a year ago. So just keep that in mind, team, when you're looking at dates. These are all things that as you get more experience, you'll be able to start recognizing. Jessica, I see your hand up.
Hey, so I have a very specific question, and I don't know if anybody else will relate to this, but how would you, in your experience, how do you make a quick decision if you're in a very specific like city area, right? And visually, let's say there's this little pocket this big, and there's like very few comps, and they're kind of all over the place. And then there's city here, and there's comps all around here. But you also have train tracks, you have like a lake and a whatever, this and that. So basically, my question is, when you're in that situation, what's the best way to determine what an actual comp is based on like high, low, within that little pocket, outside of that pocket? Like, how do you range? Do you factor in like in the middle? Like, how do you range what an actual number would be?
So I've had that happen before where, depending on where you are, there's a lot of places in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana that do just that. What you're looking for, and that's why I want to show you the basis, because you're going to, in that, you might take a little longer to figure out what's going on, right? We're going to go into Zillow in just a moment because that's going to be a really great indicator of what you can use. Why? Because Zillow's estimate is actually a pretty good comparable. It's taking all this data and figuring it out. Real estate agents are going to be like, no, it's not. But listen, for us wholesalers, yes, it is, right? So when it comes to you have very specific area and you're like, I don't know which way to go. Honestly, I personally work on the side of being more conservative. So I start to figure out what did sell? What do the houses even look like, right? I start using Google Maps to figure out is this area ugly? Is it favorable? What does the area even look like? Look at the street viewer, figure it out. Look at the satellite view. What is it looking like? What is that story telling me for that area? And if I go out a little bit, are they a little nicer? There's sometimes in even New Mexico, right? There's desert, then all of a sudden 2 streets away, you're like, oh, this is all developed. What happened here? So it really is in those moments a little bit more time and research to be able to figure out where do I stand with this. So although not a direct answer, I hope it's starting to give you some understanding. Okay, absolutely. Any other questions, team? None so far? All right. So this is what we're going to do. Buyer's market, right? We keep hearing buyer's market. What does that look like? How do I know if I'm in a buyer's market? Plain and simple. We've got seller's market, we've got buyer's market. The easier way to tell you how to do a buyer's market is to tell you what a seller's market is. In a seller's market, because we all just lived that 2 years ago, 2022, 2023, right? So seller's market, it means that the sellers are not paying close to anything in fees, right? It really is, I'm going to list it for whatever I want and I'm going to get whatever I want. Why? Because typically with sellers market, people are in bidding wars. You can't even keep a house on the market for 2 weeks. That's why it's important to know how many days on market it's been. Fun fact, right now, days on market on average is 53 days. So keep that in mind, okay? 53 days is what it's taking right now on average to sell a home. In a seller's market, you'll be lucky if you can get 10 days, okay? It's going. So seller's market, the sellers are not paying you can bear 2 weeks and sold, right? The 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 prices are increasing. We've got bidding wars. People um, are waiving contingencies, inspections, right? The seller is basically getting whatever they want and little cost to them, right? There's just too much demand.
Can I
Tina?
ask a question, Fatima
Yeah.
Bobima? Sorry. Sorry, I'm sick. When in a seller's market like it is in the Northeast for whatever reason, everyone wants to be there in Antarctica. Um, what is that? I'm assuming like you said it was a year ago. It was more of a seller's market nationwide.
Mhm.
Nationwide. So it's harder to do our job in the seller's market, or what's more favorable for us?
No, it is not harder to do your job in a seller's market. You just need to recognize what is happening, right? So I'm going to talk to you about novations and what does novations mean? Because whether you're in a seller's market or a buyer's market, I want you all to have that tool. And we're going to talk about exactly what that means because people get caught up on what is it? How do I do it? Can I do it? We're going to talk about it. But basically, I just want you to know what's a seller's market. You can still work in seller's market, or it's just not here right now. The difficulty you're going to have right now is people are saying, well, a year ago, my house was worth this. And having those difficult conversations with sellers is really where it's at right now. It is time to educate them. Like that is not it. Even 3 months ago, the values have dropped. Just to let you know, on average in America, the value of houses in the last 6 months have dropped 2.4%. In some areas, 5%. It is a buyer's market. Values are going down, and sellers just can't keep up quick enough with the time changes. Why? Because they get their news on MSN, Fox, whatever, and the news isn't covering it. But if you're in the actual business like we are, we know. We know what's moving, it's stagnant, what's not moving, all that stuff. So, with that being said, how do you know if it's a buyer's market? Well, now we know on average 53 days to sell, right? That's a high. On average, what are we looking at? When you're in a buyer's market, the sellers are paying, okay? It is costing them a lot of money. Why is it costing them a lot of money? High interest rates. The Federal Reserve is not lowering rent interest rates. So in order for buyers, everyday Americans to just buy a house, they need help. They need, hey, Mr. Seller, I'll give you that inflated price, but I need some help. So what are we paying for? The seller is paying for real estate commissions. The seller's paying for repairs. I do not care if that house is absolutely brand new. Even new builds get repairs, right? There are repair costs regardless. The inspector's job is to find what's wrong with it. They're going to find something. That's their job. So they're going to pay for repairs. What else are they paying for? Concessions. What are concessions? Concessions are just credits that a seller can give to a buyer. Concessions you can use anything. Concessions can be used for anything. Rate buy down is a popular one that they're doing right now. Closing costs, hey, pay the buyer's closing costs. They'll give them concessions in lieu of repairs. It's like, hey, I'm not gonna repair that, but I'll give you some money so that you can repair it. They can either repair it now or in the future, so future repairs can come on. Well, what's a future repair? Why am I paying that? Future repair could be the water heater. Hey, the inspector said that water heater is about to go out in the next year. That's typically not a cost you want to give to the buyer. Okay, let's go ahead and give them concessions for a water heater. The roof got like 5 more years left on it. That's not something that you want to give to the buyer. So we're going to give you concessions for the roof. Maybe not all of it, but half. So just keep of those things. Homeowners insurance. Sellers are paying for homeowners insurance. Why am I bringing this up, team? Because when you're doing your numbers, you need to start accounting for those numbers, right? You need to start giving yourself some more wiggle room to be able to make the numbers work in a buyer's market. So that is why I want you all to figure out what that looks like. Any questions so far, team? All right.
Yes. How
Go ahead.
does the concession work? Is it something that so the buyer is gonna pay the full price, but then during the closing they will receive this, let's say $10,000 back to their bank account, or it's being dropped from the price and they just don't pay? How does this piece?
Yeah, so concessions, how do they work? So when it comes to a real estate transaction, you have debits and credits, right? A credit means I'm giving you something, a debit means I'm taking it away. So when it comes to, and I don't have a HUD right now on my on this new laptop, but if I had one, I'd show you. So basically, you'll have credits and you have debits. When it comes to concessions, just on the line in the paperwork in the math, it's going to say credit to buyer, debit from seller. So it's basically just moving that money around. The purchase price when it comes to concession does not typically change, right? So the purchase price is not going to change, just the funding and how the numbers work for lending purposes, that's what changes. So that's what you'll see. So say I bought the house for $350 and I get 6% in concessions. Well, now my total of what I actually am I gonna pay removes 6%. That's basically it. Did that help you? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So why do we want to talk about buyer's markets? In a moment, I'm going to talk about novations, but first I want to set the scene for you, right? Know that when it comes to real estate transactions right now as a whole, if you're looking at a buyer that is FHA, VA, USDA, conventional, right? Traditional buyers right now can get concessions anywhere from 6% to 9%, depending on their funding. So keep that in mind. Where are you? How can you make it more favorable to the end buyer? So just keep that in mind. I don't want you to be caught off guard if you go to a novation that they're like, hey, I want 3% concessions. I want 5% concessions. It's going to be part of the negotiation. Jay?
You said the purchase price doesn't change, but the concession is subtracted from what the buyer would pay. So meaning if the loan is for 100K, the buyer still gets the 100K, but let's say there's a 10% concession, the buyer then pays 90 for the
You're absolutely
property,
right.
but keeps that 10K difference to do whatever they want to do. So the concession is very favorable for the buyer
Yes,
because they get quote unquote more money once they move in.
absolutely. You're absolutely correct, right? So
How's this different from a credit?
if we're talking about credit, credit, the way that I've been explained credit is it's different because one, credit doesn't have anything attached to it, right? There's nothing attached. That's why you can't use credit to buy a house, actually, unless you pull out cash. But so there's nothing attached to it, and also it is an amount that can be reloaded, right? So hey, I got a credit of 5,000, And so I'm going to pay 3,000. I'm going to pull out that 5,000 easily. You don't have any extra paperwork to do. It is similar in the fact to that. Why? Because we have other avenues like HELOCs, like just loan credits, right? You can refinance, cash out, but it's not easily accessible, right? I hope that helps. All right. Okay. Okay, team. So this is what we're going to do. So at this point, we've talked about what to look for in a house. We've talked about we're looking for likeness, what the area is, what the timeline is, how to distinguish if it's a buyer's market or seller's market. If you're still a little confused about buyers and sellers, the easiest way that I can explain it is if you're in a buyer's market, just Google what is days on market in Dayton, Ohio, right? What's average days on market? That's easy going to tell you. If it's less than 21 days, then you are in a buyer's market. Traditionally, I was told if it's less than 30 days, you're still you're in a seller's market. Over 30 days, you're in a buyer's market. That's one of the quick and dirty ways to just distinguish. How many days on market are in Lafayette, Florida, right? What's the average days on market? That's okay. You can take a look at that. Or how much have values of houses dropped in Lafayette, Florida, right? You can easily just look in the last 6 months, how much has it reduced? It's going to tell you. Has it started to reduce? You're probably in a buyer's market because of that correction. All right, team. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to go ahead and give you an example to practice. I do not, for time purposes, I do not have the ability to do your comps, but I'm going to show you how to do your own comps, okay? And I'll give you an example here. And please, if I'm going too fast, let me know, okay? I want to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident with this. All right, so everybody knows Zillow. I'm just pulling up Zillow. And just to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the chat. If y'all want to have, oh, where did my Zoom go? Okay, cool. Oh no, did I do a direct message? That's on accident. I just threw it in the chat for Zillow. So here we are. We are looking at this house. I know there's not a picture of the house, but the address is 3956 Mellon Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is a potential client that I'm dealing with right now. Situation is, oh, that kind of reminds me.
But no wholesaling in Pennsylvania. Ah, you're agent.
So for this is what I'm going to tell you. Is wholesale illegal? Some people are saying yes. The answer, if you're working in it, the answer is really truly no. Investors are not going to allow that to happen. It just looks differently. Okay? It just looks differently. The way that you have to process it looks differently. So if you're going to be in Pennsylvania and you're going to get this under contract and figure out how to assign this, look into figuring out a novation-friendly agent. What are the parameters? What are their brokers saying that you can do? Okay. So novations is probably going to be your best bet in states like Florida. So here we go. The house is in Florida. This is a 3-1. It does not actually show it on here. Let me see if I can pull it up on Google Maps to show you. It is in, it's a little rough. And when the pictures came back, it was rougher. Okay. So just keep that in mind. That's why it's important to figure out, hey, what's the condition of that house, right? So here's the house itself. You can kind of see it. This actually looks really nice. This is not an updated picture, but it is a little rougher with the original picture, the pictures that we got back. So here's the house. I'm just taking a quick look. Okay, so this is what the neighborhood looks like. So this is something you can do. Okay, correct sidewalk. All right. So not as well maintained as we would prefer, right? So perfect novation. So we're going to have this house. What am I looking at? This is a 3-1, 1170 square foot. So I said we're looking at bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the lot size. Wow, that lot size is really the same. There's no lot here. From here, we're going to double check the area. This was built in 1925. So if I say that I have 10% give or take, all right, so let's say 1170 minus 10%, 1053. We're going to add 10%, 1287. Why am I doing that? Because again, we want to make sure that if I need to look for comparables, I can find something similar. So if you're using Zillow, I'm going to show you an easy way to do this, okay? One of the easiest ways to do it is you can first see what's sold in the area. That's kind of what I like to do. I'll just start clicking what's sold and when. So this one's 175. Okay, 3-1, 1125. All right, this is a pretty good comparable, but when did it sell? And I know this doesn't help for Texas because Texas doesn't give the sell rates, but you can use PropStream, Propelio, whatever you've got, right, to look that up. So this sold, okay, this year, March 2025. That's within our threshold. Okay, and now I know it was 175. So if I'm looking at my ARV, this looks pretty accurate for what I would want my ARV to be. So ARV is 175. Okay, I'm just going to take that. To make it as quick as possible, I'm just going to use this one, all right? So 175, if I know that I have this house on sale, I can sell it for 175 at the end, right? Someone can sell it at 175. Our estimate as 178. Okay, cool. Who remembers what is the equation for wholesaling for a property?
ARV times 0.8. Since this is a big city. And then minus repairs, and then minus your fees.
Absolutely. So traditional formula is 0.70 or 70% of your ARV minus repairs minus commission. This is Philadelphia. You may be able to use 0.8. However, when you're looking at the percentages, keep this in mind. I said that this house was in bad shape. Am I going to offer them 70% of ARV? No, right? So this is what I want you to break down. When it comes to the percentage that you're multiplying your ARV, is it a major market? Okay, I can start at 70. Does it need additional fixes or, right? Like a couple of things need to be updated. I'm starting at 6.65. If it's this house and it's rough and it's a fixer upper, I'm going to start at 0.45, right? And then we're going to subtract any repairs that we think that we need, right? So here is what I will tell you. Have your autonomy. Figure out what your business model is going to be. Typically for me, I'm going to do the 0.65, 0.50% is where I like to be, plus or minus our repairs. That's usually just ethically what I want to do, right? And then you're going to subtract your commission. That's correct. So that's where we are. So if we had to take this one, 175, we're going to go ahead and multiply this one just to use the regular wholesale formula by 0.70. And then I'm going to subtract my repairs. I'm going to say 30,000. And then I'm going to subtract my commission. I'm going to say 20,000. That's my buffer. So I can offer them maximum 72,500. I know this one needs more repairs. So guess what? I'm going to subtract a little more. I'll probably start at 64,000 and give myself extra room. Why do you want to think about even more to take off? Because, team, we're in a buyer's market, and if it needs more love, who has a horror story of either your house or someone you know was remodeling? They're like, oh, I just really want to get a new bathroom. They pull up walls, they remove things. All of a sudden, it is a bigger show than they thought. All of a sudden, the pipes are corroded. Now the electrical, I hit something and it becomes an even bigger mess. So you want to make sure that you're doing your end buyer, in this case our investors, we want to help them out. We want them to come back to us, right? If we're giving them trash numbers and we're giving them trash scenarios, we're not even giving any contingency room here, they're going to be like, nah, Rosie's numbers are trash. I don't even want to work with her anymore, right? Sorry, Rosie, whoever you are. But you know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. So that is a traditional way to get your numbers. How do I comp? What does that look like? What do my ARV percentages really mean? What are my repairs? If this house, say I did do the 0.70 because it's a major market, but I know that my repairs are great, then in that case, I'll do the 70%, but I'm going to remove my 80,000 for repairs because I know this one needs love. Okay. Why? Because at the end of the day, you can sell it for, which one was the one that we just had? You can sell it a little nicer, right? We know what it looks like and what sold recently. So that's what it is, team. That's for regular wholesale formula. ARV times 70%. Minus repairs, minus commission. You can try to do 80% like Vad did if you know it's a hot market. But I want you all to be a little bit more conservative as the numbers start going down in values. I want you all to win and succeed. Let's start at 70. Let's start at 68, 65, right? Figure that out or remove more for repairs than you thought so that you can at least be okay with that. Questions so far, team? All right. So what am I going to talk to you about next? Now we just talked about wholesale. Now we just talked about comping, right? What does that look like? What does a traditional way look like? I want to talk to you about on-market deals, right? So what can I sell it for? That's how we all got taught. What can I sell this for? What can I sell this for? But the real money is what is selling for now? Who is your competition now? You want to figure out who am I competing against? Are there any houses in this area that are selling? Let me see if there are in this. I don't know what's going on here. There was a house. All right. Are there houses in this area selling? Yes. Okay, we got 225. We got 30,000. What? We can figure out what is selling. Renting. Okay, if we cross the street, not a major street, we got 94,000. So who's my competition? How long have they been trying to sell their house, right? Because that's going to help you out. At the end of the day, it's a business and we don't want to sit with these houses, right? The longer the time ticks, the worse it is for us, right? So while this is a term that people are going to hate me for, we want to undercut the market is what I'm going to say. So if you know that there's a house listed for 94,000 and you just got this one under contract at 68, okay, does that still give me room to sell this? Is my end buyer, my investor, going to be able to sell it for 94? Probably not. I'll probably have to sell it out to my investors a little bit shyer so that they can have some wiggle room, right? So that is another thing that I want you to think about. What is currently selling? How long has it been selling for? Now, I gave you all that traditional spiel, how to do it, how that's going. I'm not saying forget everything I just taught you because it's a good foundation, but I'm going to give you a quick and dirty way to do this. Why? Because we don't have time to be comping like real estate agents, right? We don't have the time. We want to be able to get our comps in 2 to 5 minutes. If I'm spending 15, 20 minutes, guess what? That's an hour with four clients. That is not efficient. So while I'm not saying completely forget it, I'm saying know when to use which method, okay? To know the next method is to know novations. So I'm going to talk to you about novations. What actually is a novations? Because a lot of wholesalers get this part really confused. So I'm going to bring it back and tell you what is a novation in the most simplest form The most simplest form is mortgages. Okay, let's talk about mortgages. So person A buys a house for 300,000. Person B wants to buy that house from them because person A is like, no, I don't want it anymore. Person B wants to buy it and they've got lender C. Okay, so what is a novation? I want you to think of replacement. Replacement of contract, replacement of loan. That is the basis of a novation. Person A is selling their home. Person B is going to buy it. Lender C says, okay, I'll take B's contract. What happens? Person A no longer has liability, right? So that is a novation. I am replacing someone's contract with another, and the new buyer is going to be the one that's liable. So why do I tell you that? Because in wholesaling, guess what? What's a novation? Replacement. You have your purchase agreement. You're going to go on market. You're going to use the state-specific purchase agreement. It is replacing. And everybody here better have their good contract that says that you still have your vested interest, even in a replacement of contracts, okay? You want to have your vested interest. You want to collect your fees. But if you think of it in that concept, now novations isn't so scary, right? Now novations, you're like, oh, okay. I get this question a lot, but Fatima, what happens if my house isn't move-in ready? What happens if my house is a fixer-upper? I'm glad you guys asked. Traditionally, what is a novation? So now you know that. What happens, right? What happens with a traditional novation? One, we're on the MLS. Why do we want to use the MLS? MLS has the biggest buyer pool that you will ever see in your life. 95% of real estate transactions happen on the MLS. Okay, so 95% of the transactions happen on the MLS. That's the biggest buyer pool you want. Investors are on the MLS. Why is an investor on MLS? Because efficiency. I'd rather pay an agent, a buyer's agent, 3% to go ahead and find me a buyer. Why not? 3%? I'll cut you that check right now. Give me those buyers. That's why you want to be on the MLS. That's why you want to novate. So let's talk about what does that, thanks, Jay. What does that mean for us, right? So when it comes to traditional novations, and this is the part that gets really scary for wholesalers, traditional agents, because we know the majority of people on MLS are buying their first house, are buying their house. So what are we wanting? They're looking for a move-in ready condition house. They're needing a livable house, and they're needing no major repairs. And this is the part and the concept that really gets people going and like, oh, I don't know, this house is not that. Why? Because MLS, we traditionally think, oh, those are buyers. Buyers need loans. When you go to get a loan, people need to qualify. There's requirements for FHA, VA, USDA, conventional. That's why people get so caught up, right? And thinking like, oh, this, I can't novate this. But if you know that novations at its finest is we're just replacing our contracts and I want to plug into your buyer pool, why not? And this for us as wholesalers is especially true because now you know 95% of transactions happen on the MLS. Investors are paying buyer agents to find them properties and they're giving them a little cut, a 3% cut. Why not, right? So if your house is in a rural area, immediately novation. If your house is needing repairs, but now you know investors are using the MLS, immediately novation. It looks a little different. The way that you're going to market it is a little different, but novation. Why not plug in? I'd pay 6% for that, right? Why not? So that's what we've got for novations. Anything can be novated, right? So that's why we want to use it. That's why we want to make sure that it's part of your tool.
That's exactly what I locked a deal in Texas yesterday, and I used innovation strategy because I've seen that there are some in distressed condition properties on market that have been sold in that pocket and are on sale. And I'm like, okay, I can give her more money and try to innovate in as-is condition. Again, I'm a little bit scared because you're saying FHA conventional, that means they will go through the inspection period and they might say, okay, here it doesn't work, it needs to be fixed and blah blah blah. But whenever you said that even for the investor you can use innovation if it needs work, I'm like, okay, maybe it can be actually good approach. But how, like, okay, we're gonna put it on the open market as innovation.
Mhm.
Do we have to use the agent for this? Or whenever, since we're working with investors, we need to do it ourselves.
So this is what I'm going to tell you. If you want to plug into investors that are using the MLS, because investors, they don't have time to look for their own properties. They want to pay someone to do that, right? They want to outsource that. So when you're targeting an investor on the MLS, well, guess what? Now you're not targeting retail buyers. Now you're not targeting people that need funding. Why? That's why I said your marketing looks a little different. You already said it. Cash as is, no FHA, no conventional. It just is when you look at, pull up a property on PropStream. It's going to tell you if it's active, it'll say cash only, right? It's going to say no novations. It's not going to have VA. It's going to be listed cash only. Investor friendly is going to be in the description. Great fix and flip is going to be in the description. So that's what you're marketing towards. That's why I said, hey, you can still novate. You want to plug into the biggest buyer pool. Your marketing is just different. So that's the conversations you're going to have with the real estate agent. Hey, I'm going to put this on the market. I'm only accepting cash offers because it's not going to pass for financing. And that's the conversation you're going to have.
Got it. Very good information. Thank you, Fatima.
Yeah, absolutely, team. So with all said and done, that is a really quick, dirty way of novations, how breaking it down for you because people get caught up with that. And I don't want you to. I want you to plug into novations whenever you can. So now that we know we can put it on the market, whether it needs to be fixed, whether it needs to be completely dropped down, flatten that, and just build a new one, novations, okay? Because all we're doing is replacing our purchase agreement with one from the state. Okay, so now that we know that, I'm going to give you a quick and dirty way to get your comps. This is what I'm doing. We're going to take that same property. We're taking the same property. Okay, now I know that it's 178,800. The quickest way to do this is your ARV times 0.94%. 0.94, we were just doing 0.70. Why 0.94? Because at basis, you're going to pay 6% commissions to agents, okay? So 0.94, because you're going to pay 6% to agents. From there, minus 30%. It's the same thing. Where's the 30%? Sorry, minus $30,000. Where is this $30,000? It's pretty similar to the wholesale one, right? 30,000, that is your repairs, your closing costs, that is anything else that you need to pay for. Concessions can go in there too, right? Obviously, this is just a rule of thumb. So ARV times 0.94, because those are your commissions, minus your repairs, that $30,000, that can be up or down, right? Depending on your repairs, depending on, hey, this one, it's barely going to pass, I think, but we're going to need to give concessions. It's a buyer's market. Or, hey, this one, I need to also take into consideration, it's rough. It's for an investor. I'm going to take out 60,000 for repairs, right? So that's where we're going. Minus your spread, 20,000. So again, ARV times 0.94 minus 30,000 minus your spread of 20,000. And that's where you're going. So if we had it to this 170, let's just do 178,800 for your Zestimate. And you can use your Zestimate. Please use your Zestimate. It's actually pretty accurate, okay? Use your Zestimate. And then 0.94. Let's say for this house, I know it's rough. I'm going to remove 70,000, 75 because I knew that the repairs are rough. And this is what I will tell you. Even though, because I know this one's rough and I'm going to use this example, even though I'm putting this on the market and I'm targeting investors, cash only, Do not be fooled, my people. The investors are still going to ask for closing costs to be paid in the buyer's market. The investors are still going to want some kind of concessions. So do not be fooled. Do not be like, oh my gosh, don't be alarmed. I'm giving you the info. They're going to ask. They're going to be like, hey, what's going on? I want a little bit something. So just keep that in mind. Don't be shocked if that comes up. Everything is negotiable. They're trying it. They're trying it. It's up to you to be like, am I going to give or not? Okay? But they're going to try it. Even investors, all right? So just keep that in mind. So I've got 75,000 for repairs and my commission. 70. So I will, in this case, put it on the market for 73,000 for a fix and flip. So that's what I would do for this house because I know it needs a lot of repairs. And that's pretty much it. I'm taking this estimate. What I do want you to take a look at when it comes to novations in today's market is we're not even going to look at houses sold, okay? So the easiest thing to do, step one, take your Zestimate. That's your ARV. Multiply it by 0.94%. That's your commissions. Subtract your repairs, subtract your commission spread, okay? Once you get that number, that's your MAO. That's your maximum allowable offer. What am I doing with that? Okay, so now really quickly, how quickly was that? I took the Zestimate, multiplied it by my percent, subtract, I got a number. That's my MAO. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to quickly come up down here, not this first set. If you're a Zillow and you're on your computer, not this first set of houses because those are sold. I'm going to scroll to the second set of houses that you're going to see. What am I looking for? You're looking for anything that's on market. Why? That's your competition. So do I need to adjust myself? Mine's is not working right now. I promise you there was other houses on the market. But look at what's on the market right now. Who is your competition? And adjust accordingly. So even though 74,000 is my MAO, guess what? Because it's not moving or because there are more houses and I thought that I could sell it for 74 and really that's not it at all, start to reduce. And that is the quickest, dirtiest way to get your comp for your maximum allowable offer. Jessica, I saw your hand. So I'm going to drop it in the chat just so you guys can see it. If you're like me, you might like visuals. All right. So that's the quickest way to do it for your numbers. I do not want you guys to be figuring out, oh my gosh, what is that? My comp, how do I get my comp? I do not want you guys to get so caught up on comping that you're not making offers, right? With that being said, team, this is what I'm going to say. Don't overcomplicate things, okay? I've done so many transactions in my life, and if someone could have told me this, it would have been a lifesaver. There were so many times where I really try to force a deal. I really try to bend over backwards for the seller just to try to make it what people call commission breath. Not everything is a deal. The quicker you can figure it out, the quicker you can either move on or be a little more assertive with the seller. Hey, I know that you want this seller. However, because of the market, because of what's going on here, this is what we can do. Are you willing to keep waiting? And how much is that going to cost you? Right? You say you don't want this number. How much is it going to cost you if you already know that on average 2.4% is value dropping every so often? So you already lost in the last 6 months 2.4% of your values home. You're going to wait another 6 months. That's over 5% or almost 5%, right? What is that going to cost you? So keep that in mind, team. This is my last spiel on, this is my last things to consider because as new wholesalers or new investors, we don't always know what the right questions to ask are, okay? So this last little piece before we move on to memorandums is what kind of questions am I asking? Oh, How do I unshare this? I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really good at, oh, here it is. So for this last piece, team, questions to consider, especially for newbies, right? I wish someone would have told me this. I'm going to break down a house for you so that you can start to think about when we talk about repairs, what am I thinking about? What am I removing from this? Okay. So this, I'm going to quickly drop it down for you. Let me know if you have additional questions. So roof, what kind of roofs do you have? What kind of roof do you have? Is it flat? Is it shingle? Is it tile? Is it metal? What kind of roof do you have? Are there any leaks? How old is it? These are questions that you want to start asking. Roof. Oh, in Arizona, I swear, solar. Solar. Do you have solar on your roof? If you know that solar is a big thing in your area, ask about it. Do you have solar? Is it leased or is it paid off? If it's leased, is it assumable? And it doesn't matter if solar is paid off or leased, what is the cost to transfer? There is always a cost to transfer. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. One of the first times that I was trying to get a seller to go with me, right? I knew that they had solar panels. I didn't know anything about solar panels. I didn't even know there's a transfer fee. The transfer fee, y'all, ruined me, ruined my commission, ruined my numbers, ruined the transaction and ruin my relationship with that seller. Okay. $17,000 is what it cost to transfer that solar equipment. All right. $17,000 is what it costs to transfer that. I'd never even heard of that. It's ingrained in my brain because I'm like, no, just so you know how expensive it is, solar can be to transfer. Another thing to think about, if the house is in good condition, it's an 8 out of 10, you're like, yeah, I can sell this to a retail buyer. If they're not paid off and it needs to be assumed and it is assumable, can the seller qualify? Can the buyer even qualify? Can the buyer qualify for that? Now you're messing with their DTI. Now you're messing with their financing. These are things you don't even think about when you're going to novate. So keep that in mind, team. So that's solar, that's roof. All right, let's talk about foundation really quick. Foundation, is it slab? Is it concrete? Is it a crawl space? All right, do you have a basement? Why? We need to know if there's any cracks. We need to know if there's any loss in integrity. I'm gonna give you one more. In Phoenix, there is historical districts where they're on slabs, right? And I asked, I'm like, hey, this is a slab. How's it going? And the lady's like, yeah, it's okay. So I asked her, like, oh, does anything need to be repaired or replaced? And she's like, well, there's a couple of floorboards that, are a little broken. I said, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't know any additional ones to ask. What's the integrity of that property? Y'all, did you even know that when it comes to crawl spaces and they're on slabs and they're on stilts like that, that the flooring can fall and deteriorate? Listen, the cost to repair that was going to be more than that house was worth. Like y'all, they can try things like foam. They can try things to try to repair the integrity of it. I'm telling you, ask these questions. You may not know that they exist, okay, until you're in it and you're like, I can't, ma'am, I cannot help you. All right, throw it away, get a new one. I don't know. So keep that in mind, y'all. Questions so far about these? Or does anybody want to share their horror stories? All right, I'll give you all a minute. Vad, you got one?
I mean, we're actually innovating one property that had some cracks in the foundation. It's on slab. It wasn't like super bad. We had to replace the floor. And this is townhouse. And I'm a little bit afraid for that. I mean, I don't think inspectors are gonna see this, but there was like a crack on the second floor, right above the door to the master bedroom. And whoever was doing the showing first time, they saw the crack and they said, "Oh, no, 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 we saw the crack. We don't wanna. We feel like it's a foundation issue. Blah blah blah." So I will tell you in future how it goes. Um,
Yes.
but like whenever you said about this things that if the house is built on this like whatever poles and then it
Mhm.
can go down, are you talking about mobile homes or just single family homes?
No, homes, yes. If you are on, it's called they call it crawl space. That's what usually people refer to it as, but it's basically a house on stilts. So you'll see like cement pillars, you'll see, let me just see if I can show you. Let me see if I can share really quickly what they look like.
So it doesn't typically happen on houses that are built on slab. It's something like on a crawl space or okay.
You're absolutely correct. So it's not going to be on slab flat, it's on the earth. These are houses that look kind of like this, right? You see how, let me see if I can show you. You see how this has this area right here that could be considered a crawl space, right? It's not laying flat on earth is what we refer to. So what are we looking for? Is the integrity of it messed up or not? So that's why you want to ask like, hey, are you on a crawl space? What kind of floor? Um, what kind of foundation do you have? Basements, y'all. I can sit here and just tell you stories all day long. Basements. Have you ever seen a basement where the foundation of where the house sits just immediately, boom, falls through the floor, and now you have a hole in the middle of your living room? I have. Do you know how much that cost? $90,000. Okay. So this is why it's important to be able to ask better questions when you're qualifying your sellers. Okay. But yeah, these things are expensive. Okay. How do I know? Because I've been it. All right. So I've done over 37 transactions by myself in wholesale. I have done multiple, even more than that when I was on a team. So listen, it happens. And I haven't finished seeing it all because every transaction is different. Y'all know they're not the same. Okay, I'll quickly keep going through the things that I want you to consider. Do they have oh, sorry, now the house. That's the point we talked about the roof, we talked about the foundation. The house itself, what is it made out of? Is it made out of slab or concrete? Is it made out of brick or block? Is it made out of siding? Is that siding wood or is it metal? Right?
No way.
Froze, bottom up. You can hear us. You may not be able to hear us, but you froze, just FYI.
Yeah. Yeah, we lost Fatima for a second.
How you doing, Bad? It's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too.
Hmm.
It's been a stressful week.
Has it really?
Yeah, but
Some closings. You're trying to get over the finish line.
not even finished. It's actually Dispo and lock in another acquisition.
It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out.
While we're waiting for Fatima, Kevin, you said you have a license in Florida. What part of the Florida you're in?
I'm in Central Florida, Orlando.
Mm.
Hmm.
And you do business specifically in that area, or you can go to some other
Um,
areas as well?
I can go out, but I go farthest, like, the surrounding area, like Polk County, Orlando, Tampa. I'd rather refer to another agent because it's a little further out there. I'm not really familiar with that market, but my main market is like Orlando, Kissimmee, Osceola area. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know.
Hmm. Okay, Tina,
Yeah.
how did you get sick?
So I live in Texas now, but I come back to Boston for the summer. So I'm in New Jersey, like visiting friends, like because I'm doing like a cross-country road trip. So I think the change in the weather from Texas, and it was wicked cold in Jersey last week, and like dark and it was just nasty, raining and because I always insist on being home for Memorial Day weekend. It's gonna be like 60 Memorial Day weekend. I'm like so upset, but it doesn't matter because this summer Last summer I partied a lot, but this summer I'm like locked in, like I don't know nobody. Going to the gym in the morning and smiling and dialing, baby.
Right.
Chilling with my nieces and my friends' kids and all that. But I already got dudes hitting me up asking when they could take me out. I said maybe next summer. Maybe next summer. That's it. And this summer I'm not available unless because I don't want to drink or anything. I'm not even a big drinker, but the next day I don't want to perform at anything less than like my highest thing. And even one drink, I feel like it can diminish that a little bit.
Okay.
I've been listening to too much Grant Cardone, baby.
Yeah, I've seen your posts on the Instagram while you were driving and listening to his books, and I'm like, man,
Yeah, listen,
Yeah,
it's
he's
anyone
deep.
else? I'd love to be listening to murder podcasts because that's my jam. But I was like, hell no, nope. Now I'm like, freaking, take massive action, 10x rule, baby. You're average. You suck. Listen. I think it's crazy what he did. I didn't look too into it, but he had like $100, a fake cell phone, all to make like he made 5.5 million in 90 days.
Oh, talking about the show that he made.
Sorry about that, y'all.
All right, we were actually just chatting, girl, talking about Grant Cardone.
Oh, okay. Grant Cardone,
Love
he's here in
Grant.
Scottsdale. He's awesome.
He's a gangster. All right, team, I'll let you have the
Okay.
show.
All right, I'll quickly finish this off, team. So yes, these are questions, right? Windows, are they broken? Right? uh, One thing that I want you all to talk about with your sellers is modifications. Have there been any modifications on the house that needed permits? And
That Zoom don't like her. Anybody else frozen? Or just her?
Oh my God, well, every time she's dropping some good stuff, Zoom kicks her out. Like, what is happening here?
yeah, I don't know why Zoom hates me so much. That's because they know I'm a Teams girl. I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all. They're like, not on my computer. I apologize. It's embarrassing.
Uh,
I'll try to finish this. So, but yes, modifications. Has any there been any modifications that needed to be permitted and they haven't? I'm working with someone who does split pads. Team, if you're working with a seller who's trying to sell their split pads, please ask this question because y'all, the way that they're trying to configure their houses and it is not permitted, when you go to resell it and it's still listed as a single family, you're gonna have issues. So you want to make sure that you're taking this into consideration, all right? That's what we've got so far. Now we're gonna go on with fenced yards, right? Is it fenced? Is there anything need to be repaired or replaced? Is it wood? Is it concrete? Is it or is it linked chain link fence, right? We want to double check the material. So ask all these questions, no team, right? But depending on what the seller's telling you, dig a little deeper on your questions. I just want to give you examples. So let's talk about heating and cooling. This is a big one. Is it central air, aka a HVAC? Or do you have a furnace and other types of air cooling, right? Like window units, mini splits. If you're in Chicago, is it even cooled? Do you even have air cooling? Right? There are some places in the country that only have heating or only have cooling. So it's important to know if it is a furnace, okay, do you have gas, oil, electric on that furnace? Right? When was the last time these items were serviced? How old are they? For plumbing, especially my Northeast girl over here, right? The East Coast. What kind of plumbing do you have? Galvanized pipes? Y'all, expensive to fix. Okay, those are old. We don't use those anymore. Galvanized pipes? Do you have copper, PVC, PEX? Do you have a mix, right? When were those updated? Speaking of plumbing, are you on city sewer or on septic? Y'all, tell me why I had a seller one time say that they were on septic. And I said, okay, when was the last time it was serviced? When was it maintained? You know what he fixed his mouth to tell me? Oh, I put this additive into it. It doesn't need to be serviced. I said, you put a what? He said, yeah, I just go and I put this additive. No issue. We went, okay, we'll try it out. It had coagulated. It, y'all, I don't wish that upon anybody. It had coagulated the way that we had to get that paid, and it like $1,200 to have someone come and remove just all of that mess because this seller was like, yeah, I just do this. No, it gets expensive. So if they're on septic, please ask when was the last time it was serviced. Another thing to think about when it comes to city sewer or septic, there's a lot of modernization happening around the country, right? Sometimes the property was on septic and then got moved to city sewer. So depending on where you are, just Google search what is typical for that area. If they were on septic and are on city sewer, okay, was that septic system properly disposed of? Was that septic system properly canceled out is the easiest way that I can tell you. Why? Because if it's not, I could just tell you stories and stories, y'all. But listen, if it's not, it could cause damage to the flooring, to the foundation of the house. You can get a pitfall. Just double check, y'all. These are just questions I want you to start thinking about when you're talking to sellers because why? We want to know as much information to figure out what is the repair cost going to be. We want to know this information because now we got to talk about lowballing you, seller, because you're not taking care of that house. You want top dollar, but you're not giving top dollar repairs or maintenance. We can't do that. So think of all of these things, team, when it comes to questions that you can consider. Do you have to ask all of them? No, but understanding. I do not want you to overanalyze it. I don't want you to have analysis paralysis, like, oh my goodness, but just start thinking about it, okay? These are just things that I wish someone told me when I started, that for those who are starting, I want you to consider. That?
So about septic, I didn't understand much. Like, what kind of questions we can ask about septic, except when it was served the last time.
Yeah,
But also, whenever
yeah.
you mentioned about the structure, the first time we lost you. You were saying importance of understanding if this is a brick house or siding house. How does it impact, or like, what kind of questions to ask about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the home built out of? Is it block? Is it brick? Is it siding? For siding, you know it's siding because it looks like little slabs, right? And it's either going to be metal or wood. So we just want to know, are there any cracks in the when it comes to brick and block? Hey, are there any slabs or any cracks that you notice in the walls? Does anything need to be repaired or replaced? If it's siding, hey, are there anything that needs to be repaired or replaced, right? They'll tell you, oh yeah, like two of the sidings need to be repaired. Okay, fine.
And what about septic system?
So
When
septic, yes.
Mhm. Go ahead.
You just want to ask them, are you on city sewer or septic? If it's on septic, hey, when was the last time it was serviced? That's pretty much where you want to go. And I was just giving you an example of when they're modernizing some cities and towns, they might tell you, well, it was on septic, but now I'm on city sewer. So then an additional question could just be like, oh, okay, so you were on septic. Was that properly disposed of? Did that get taken care of? And that's a question that you can ask in addition to. It's not necessary, it's just the more you know, right? Jessica?
Another thing too is if you post, and everything is different, but if you were to post on the MLS, for me, I was doing a post for Cincinnati, and they send you this long ass. I'm telling you, it was 260 questions where you have to fill out every single detail. Guys, I'm telling you, every single detail about this house. I didn't ask those questions. No one asked those questions. So I had to guess. I had to chat GPT the whole thing. But I do remember on one of them, it does say like, is it on city sewer? Is it septic? Is it this? So just a heads up, if you are to post on the MLS, if you haven't and you do in certain cities, they'll require you to answer all these questions. So you might have to go back to the seller and re-ask all those questions to be more specific. But just a heads up.
I love that you brought that up, Jessica. Some things when you're talking about going on market and novations is everybody calls it something different. It is seller disclosures. Honestly, I just have the seller do it. I'm transparent and I'm like, hey, I need you to do this, right? Do it the best of your abilities. Why? Because if the seller's never been in that house, they're like, this has always been a secondary house. What are the chances that they're actually going to know the information? They're not, but do the best that you can. And if they don't know, they can be like unaware, or a buyer to verify. That is fine. So whenever you get those disclosures, just have the seller do it. They'll know more than you. And if they don't, then just say do your best or put buyer to verify. That's okay.
And that's a question I think I asked you directly previously because we have it as an innovation of the property. And just like half an hour ago, one agent called me and he asked me like, do you have this form filled out? Can you share it with me? And uh, Tony was saying that they usually just fill out themselves NA, and they give it. But then I hear that sellers let the sellers fill out. Now, it will be safer, as I understand, just ask the sellers fill out all of this. Can we just ask the seller if just put everything in a sign and give it to us? Or we have to ask them to fill out to the best of their knowledge?
So this is what I'm going to tell you. It depends, right? I'm going to give you a quick and dirty pro and con of what's going on here. So if you fill it out for the seller, and there is a known fact with that house that the seller did not disclose, and you're putting NA on that the inspector is going to find, who is liable? Who filled out that form? You, if you filled it out. So that's why I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to have the seller do it because they're liable. They should know their house, right? At the end of the day, it is the buyer's responsibility to verify all material facts and anything that they're interested in the house. Yes, but the seller has due diligence to be able to disclose material evidence and material fact to the seller, right? I'm not saying tell everybody and your grandma died in that house and now it smells. No, right? There's some things that are not material evidence, right? Like a passing, but you want to give them enough information. In Arizona, something to think about, right? If for anybody who wholesales in Arizona, scorpions, black widows are material information. So if you know that your house has scorpions in Arizona and you know it, you've got pest control, you try to figure it out, but those little demons are everywhere. If you do not disclose that and a 3-year-old gets stung and now they're like, hey, we just bought this house. Nobody told us. I would have never bought that house. Guess what? Someone's going to be liable for that. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to save your ass. You're trying to save the seller's ass is really what you're doing with disclosures.
Okay, makes sense. So they can come after you after buying the property, if
Absolutely.
something is wrong.
Absolutely. That's why you want to do like title insurance, right? You want to make sure that title insurance is being bought on the houses, but sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes you can't. It does the lenders sometimes the title company may not be able to offer title insurance. Most of the time, I think like 99% of the time they can, but there's always one time. So that's what we'll say team about houses, comping, things to consider, right? Another thing that I will want to talk to you really quickly when you're novating or just comping in general is listen, we want to make it as quick as possible, right? I don't want you to have analysis paralysis, but what I do want to tell you is say for instance, You're talking to a seller, your ARV is like 230, and you're like, oh, maybe, and they're expecting 200, and it's an 8 out of 10 condition. If your number is going to start with a 1 in this market, I would highly consider figuring out if it is worth you having $20,000, or can you take 15 or 10, right? Why? Because we want to make it a win-win solution, right? We want to be able to figure out what is going to be the best for me and for the seller, not just, well, I'm going to give them this offer. Now you have no contract. Okay. So when it comes to these, I'm giving you rules of thumbs. I'm giving you things to consider, but you yourself have the autonomy to figure out what's going to work for you. There have been times where my commissions were $1,200. Okay. There have been times where one time my commission was $43. Okay. And we're not going to talk about it, but if you want to hear about it, I'll tell you. But listen, it really just depends what is going on here. At some point, there's going to be give, right? And we're in a buyer's market. So figure that out for yourself. Are there any questions about comping, novations, anything that I can address in that sense, team? Otherwise, I'm going to quick and dirty give you memos. All right, let's get into it. So memos, what are memos? Memorandums.
Jay has a question.
Oh, yes, Jay.
I just quickly wanted to say thank you for your vulnerability, and it just helps us recognize it's a journey, not a destination, and you're not here standing in the mirage of perfection, but showing your wounds. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like people can benefit from my shortcomings. All right. I know I did. And I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that again. I'm asking you, right? So it all is trial and error. But if people aren't telling you their stories and they're like, I made a $35,000 check, I made a $100,000 check. Yeah, sure. But how many times? Yeah, sure. But at what cost? Right. So we're all regular people for the most part. Everybody I met here is really trying to do the right thing, right? Is really trying to put people and win-win solutions in the mix. So yeah, of course I'll tell you. I got hundreds of stories, all right? I even got a story that everything that could go wrong went wrong, all right? And by a miracle of whoever, Sky Daddy, dear Lord baby Jesus, whoever's up there, it went through. But I cried every day. So it just happens, okay? It's part of the learning of it.
Were you able to close it?
I closed it. I closed it. I earned my $1,200, okay? So but sometimes those are the best ones too, when everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for your communication. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for keep going with it." Yeah. So absolutely. All right, team, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're going to talk about memos. What are memorandums? Memorandum, memorandum of agreement, notice of contract, affidavit of interest, listen, your state is going to call it something different. Don't be alarmed if it's called something different. And if you go to talk to your title or talk to the county recorder and you're like, I need to file a memo. And they're like, what? Just Google it. What do they call it in my state? Okay. What is a memo? A memo is saying that you have vested interest in a property. So when do we use memos? We use memos when we have a purchase contract, and sometimes sometimes we use memos if your fee is going to be significant. Rule of thumb is if it's going to be 20,000 or more, you want to file a memo, right? So that's typically where we are. Some people I've met that are petty and they're like, for 5 grand, I'll file a memo, right? Sure, okay, if you want. But but that's typically the rule of thumb. 20,000 or more, I'm filing a memo. Why? Because it protects your interest in that property, right? So when it comes to memos, team, again, look at what your state says. What is it called in your state? I just gave you a couple of them that it may be called. It may be called, let me see. Let me see. We want to make sure that that we're double checking what's going on, right? So memos protecting your interest in a property, right? When do we file it? You have to have a purchase contract to file a memo, right? Because you're going to be asked, where's your purchase contract? Where's your memo? So here's what I'm going to tell you the steps. You get a purchase contract. You say, hey, this is a good spread, and this seller's a little fickle. Let's figure it out, right? So what's going to happen? I don't know how you do your business, but this is just a good best practice. When you get a purchase contract, send it to your title company. Tell them, hey, I have this purchase contract. Just hold it for me. Just hold it for me until I get an end buyer, or just hold it for me until we're going to deposit earnest money. Okay. So you got your purchase contract, send it to your title. They don't need to open title just yet. Okay. So every title is a little different, but if you have a good rapport with them, they can do that for you. Hey, we just got this contract. We're just going to wait a little. Cool. So you get that contract. Now you can file your memo. How do you file your memo? So it's going to have to be filed with the county recorder. At the county recorder's office is where memos get filed. Who files a memo? Honestly, it depends. How are you working, right? It could be you if you live in that city. You can use a notary. You can even use your title company. And in some states, you can e-file, like Simply File or deeds.com. Okay. So just depend where you are. Are you there? Do you have boots on the ground? Who can help you file this memo? So any of those people can file a memo for you. Questions so far on memos? Jay?
One, confirming that both the seller and the investor have to sign the memo. Two, are there any benefits to having it physically filed at the county recorder versus using Simply File or Deeds.com? Like it's going to be faster if you go in physically.
So for memos, the seller does not sign that. You sign that. Why? Because you're like, hey, I have this purchase agreement and I want to protect my vested interest. So that's what the memo is saying. I'm protecting my interest in this contract. In case anything goes awry, I'm protected because I said I was going to buy this house. All right. Now, as far as in-person e-file, it's cost, right? It really is just associated with cost. Some counties charge you $5 if you do it in person. Some counties could be like up to 150. It really just depends. Same thing with e-filing, right? And notaries, if you're using someone like Notable Notaries, they do it. They do it for me all the time. So Notable Notaries, if you haven't used them, they're fantastic. That is one of the services that they provide. But yes, Jay?
No, please finish your thought.
Yeah. So, but from as far as what is there a benefit from doing it in person and online? Honestly, no. It's preference. But for me, the benefit is if I don't have to go anywhere or pay anybody extra to go there for me, and the county allows e-filing, I'm going to e-file all day, every day. But just know there's a cost that's extra associated with it, right? Most of these service providers like Simplifile or Deeds.com, they're going to require you to have a membership. It's like $100, right? Plus the filing of it. But for Simplifile, for me at least, it's like $15. So the year membership plus 15. But those can differ. Salvador has done them often. How much does it cost you, if you don't mind my asking?
They cost 25 and then $4 a sheet after the first page.
And do you usually use a notary, or how do you get yours filed?
Yeah, I use a notary, UPS, $15, and I just 3-day ship it, which is another $10.
Genius. See, now he's shipping it. Now he's FedExing it. Means he gets that read receipt. Okay, let's go, Salvador. He's
Thank you.
spreading nuggets on you all. Say it again, Salvador, for the people in the back.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get it. So what's
Yeah,
the
so
importance of what
it's $25 for the first page and $4 after that.
when you
I use
use Simplify or Deeds.com?
I know I ship it into the county records to get recorded. Yeah. So I pretty much call them, get the address that it needs to be sent to, Right after that, I mean, I just go to my UPS, fill in the blanks of my memorandum, have it notarized, and then 3 day ship it into the address I got from the county records
And then
for $10.
what's the importance of getting the read receipt? It's just proof.
Yeah, that you sent it in and they received it. It's just the tracking through the whole process of that.
And thank you so much for bringing something up, Salvador. When it comes to memos, you want to make sure that a lot of people, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to finish my thought and then I'll tell you the other thing. A lot of counties are wanting them notarized. In fact, that is best practice. Get it notarized, okay? Now, the other thought that I had, a lot of counties are no longer accepting memos, okay? So double check with your county because wholesalers as a whole, this is where we get a bad rap. They are memo trigger happy. You get a memo, you get a memo. They're like Oprah for memos, okay? And the counties don't like it. Why? Because what does the memo do? Send your cloud title people know it's not for title, it's not easier for the end buyer. It makes a mess of everything, all the paperwork. So just keep that in mind. Bad. Thank you, Salvador, for bringing that up.
Did you say that?
Bad, yes.
Oh, so now since you said a lot of counties don't accept memos, then what is the solution in this case to protect us?
That's a great question. I'm going to talk about what you can do to protect your interest, and then I'm going to talk to you about the risk of using memos. Okay? So when it comes to memos, this is why it's important to figure out what is it called in your county and what is able to be filed to ensure your vested interests. So in your county, maybe a memorandum of agreement is not accepted, but maybe they will accept an affidavit of interest. Maybe they'll accept a notice of interest. Technically, in some places, they'll use lis pendens. Okay, it's technically a little different, but I've seen it been used. So figure out, hey, you might not accept memos, but can I use any of these for different jurisdictions or different documentation for your interest? So ask what that is. If the answer is no, because there are some states they're like, no, you can't cloud title if you're not the owner, if you're not actually a part owner, right? If you don't literally have vested interest, you have future vested interest, right? But not anything that you're holding now. In that case, well, it's actually just too bad, so sad, and hope that you have a really good reputation with the seller, that they're not going to be fickle. So that is the reality of where we are. Sometimes it's just not a possibility. But ask first. I would ask, is there anything else that you accept?
Okay, if we invested already some money into the property, Omid was saying we can file a mechanical lien,
Yes,
right?
mechanics liens. Yes, yes, you can.
Okay.
That's a different conversation, Vad. And I know liens all too well. How to get them removed, how to put them on. That's a different conversation. If y'all want to hear about it, let me know in the chat for our WhatsApp group, and I'll put that together for you all, okay? Because liens are dirty, all right? So what happens? Memorandum, you file it, you cloud title. Okay, so Jay had a great question in the chat. Does earnest money have to be paid? It depends. So it depends on your state, it depends on your county, depends on the title company you're working with. But this is what I'm going to do, and that's a great segue for what to be aware of. If you have a purchase agreement and you want to file a memo, you better bet your bottom dollar that in today's age where they're really hating wholesalers, that you should really think about, am I actually going to perform on this deal? If you have no intention on performing and you're just trying to cloud title to figure out how you can make a quick buck, you're going to get yourself in trouble. You're going to open yourself up for litigation. So keep that in mind. Did you really have were you actually actively moving towards performing and you're like, hey, I already had a buyer set up and you're ruining this because you're going no contact. That's a different conversation. But if you had no intention of actually performing on that, this is what you're going to look at. Not me, but I'm going to use my friend because it just happened to him. My friend had no intention of actually trying to figure out a buyer. I'm not going to say that. It's not that he didn't have no intention. He was just dragging feet. Okay. He was just like, whenever it happens, it happens. Okay. What happens? The seller's like, I'm not doing this to you, man. I'm gonna take this other offer. He put it on a memo. The seller tried to take another offer. What happened? So my friend was like, hey, well, I have this memo. You gotta pay me if you want it released, right? And we'll talk about how to release it in a moment. If you gotta pay me if you gotta release it. And the seller was like, no, you weren't even actually gonna buy this house. You're a wholesaler. And so then what happens? So then a lawyer got into it and was like, hey, let's look at that purchase agreement. Let's look to see, did you deposit earnest money, good faith money? Were you making a good faith effort to actually perform? Right? The answer was no. He didn't submit any earnest money. He didn't ask it. He didn't have to with the title, right? So he didn't submit any earnest money. And so the lawyer said, well, too bad, so sad. You can't do anything. And if you keep going, we're to you, right? Why? Because now you're trying to commit fraud. That's what they said. So my friend was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll release my memo, right? So just keep that in mind. It depends what's going on. Your title company is going to tell you whether or not you need earnest money. I'm going to tell you the easiest thing is if you're like me and your contract says $100, if you're going to get a really nice fat rip off of it, I'm talking about 30, 40, pay the $100 to open title and just be like, can you pause for a second? Can you just hold the search until I get an end buyer, right? Have those conversations. You'd be surprised how uh, willing to help title is when you have honest conversations. I'm gonna go with Vad and then Salvador, I saw your hand too. Vad?
Now, one time I heard when we were working on filling out a memo, that the county said you need to attach also a regional agreement to the memo in order to file it. But and also they in this is in Charlotte area, Mecklenburg County, they required a seller's signature, our signature, and have it notarized. Uh, so like, do we have to include the purchase agreement whenever we file? And second, I mean, the second is just kind of a warning that what I heard that some counties require. And if you heard of this.
Yeah, so there are some counties, again, because they're not liking memos anymore, they want to make sure that you're on the right track, right? You're not trying to do some scam for the sellers. There's so much fraud going on right now, team. People are really trying to protect sellers right now, right? We can just even talk about the NAR settlement, right? I'm not going to, but there's so much stuff going on that counties are really trying to protect the sellers, title companies, everyone's trying to protect the seller, right? So yes, there are instances where they're going to ask for the purchase agreement. You can give them a copy of the purchase agreement, or you can tell them if for it, hey, it is held with title. This is the title company it's held with. This is the file number. They will accept that too in some instances. When it comes to the seller signature, yeah, some counties are now asking, hey, I need the seller to know that you're clouding title, right? And so that they're all aware. Why? Because there's so much fraud going on. There's so many liens happening on sellers that it is becoming very alarming. So they're like, nah, does the seller know that you're doing this? So yes, you're gonna start seeing that. Salvador, and thank you for your patience.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, Fatima. So I have this situation right now where I'm filing memorandum for a property. I got on the contract. Uh, I'm not sure if it's too early to do a memorandum or if it's not adequate to do memorandum. The thing is that the seller had the contract, the purchase agreement on her hand for 7 days. She went through it, and then on the last day, which was last Tuesday, she sat with us and she went through it and she signed. So, on next morning, she says that she does not want to sell. that I mean, she made a wrong decision, that her daughter does not want to move from the house, and that, I mean, she even told me that her daughter has cancer and these things, which she didn't mention before. So just kind of like ranting that she does not want to sell, right? And on the other hand, we are in contact with with her brother. That's another prospect wanting to sell her house as well. And he told us that she does not want to sell because we lowball her on the son's property. We're also trying to buy the son's property. Um, but the thing is that it's a fair offer in the lowball, but she considered it as a lowball, right? The thing is that she knew we offered her son that already before she got on the contract. And I mean, it's been about a week right now that we've been on the contract, and I have not filed memorandum, but I barely opened escrow on Wednesday because I was trying to see if maybe she wants to close something soon, or I was trying to see if I can reverse her thoughts on pretty much not wanting to sell, right? Is it an adequate time to file right now since that's for now?
Yeah, so my first question, and thanks for bringing it up, right, because right, we at some point have to be like little psychiatrists with these sellers. So my question is, has a conversation been had with what changed with her?
She's actually a little bit dry with the conversation. She answers and she says that she doesn't want to sell. She'll send us a message she doesn't want to sell. She's not really willing to take the time to explain why she doesn't want to sell. The thing is that we caught her in the lie. The reason she doesn't want to sell is not hers, but her brothers that told us the reason she doesn't want to sell.
Fair. Okay, and what honestly, so team, this is where it's going to be very important to figure out what kind of business do you want to run, right? Because what is your potential spread on that?
I would say like 20K.
Okay, that is enough to want to file a memo, right? Especially because you're like, okay, I took the time. We were with her with 7 days. She said yes, and then all of a sudden she changed her mind. And it sounds like you are doing the right thing and actually actively trying to get that house sold or put into your portfolio. So if you have the intention of doing that, you can continue with that. Um, the other thing too is who do we want to be in this industry team, right? Sometimes it's easy to harden our hearts. And I'm going to give you that just in my own experience. It's so easy to be callous and be like, sellers are liars, I don't care, whatever. But you just don't know what's going on in their lives. It's hard for people to be vulnerable and open up. And I've had sellers who, in the end, are like, my mom took her last breath in this house. My daughter had her first steps in this house. This is where the first house I bought after I got a divorce and I left my domestic abuse situation, right? You don't know what's going on, and it really just depends. Who do you want to be? I'm not saying never file memos. I'm just saying what works for you in your business model and who do you want to be as a wholesaler, right? Sometimes it's just not worth it if it's going to cause you heartache and anguish. Um, I I don't know about y'all, but I believe in God. It's going to come back to me some other way. But there are other times where hey, you know what? Now you're a liar and I'm gonna dig my heels in. I've done both, okay? And I'll dig my heels in and be like, I'm putting that memo on there because you're gonna sell it and I was actually gonna buy it or I actually have a buyer, right? It really just depends who you want to be and what you're gonna do. So I cannot tell you, Salvador, yes or no on that situation because that's hard place telling you her daughter can't doesn't want to move. But now I'm like thinking of the times that I got lied to, right? Like, so it's so easy to callous on that one. Do what's best for you. If you feel that after this conversation, hey, you know what? I want to file a memorandum because yes, this is actually going to help her. This is going to help her in the long run. She actually needs this money for her daughter's cancer treatment. She actually needs this money for the next chapter. Then yeah, file the memorandum and send her a 3-day notice it's called a cure notice. You probably are familiar with it, but all my newbies, if you're not familiar and you're doing innovation, or even if you're not doing innovation, cure notices is saying, hey, we're trying to move along this contract and you're stopping it, right? So you can send a cure notice, CURE, And it's basically just a little notice. You can send it in the mail it to them, paste it on their door, whatever you want to do. And it's just basically saying, hey, we've been trying to reach you. We're trying to get this going and we haven't heard from you. Hope you're okay. Get back to us, right? Otherwise, we're going to have to continue with this. But again, these are tactics that if you are not actually trying to perform, could get you in trouble. But
So
that's
right
just a
now,
little tidbit.
well, thank you for that information, Fatima. Really, really helpful. As of right now, I have not blasted it to my buyers. I mean, I have not even done inspection, which I was trying to do an inspection. I was trying to schedule it with my inspector, and then that's when the next day she's like, I do not want to sell, right? So on my behalf, I have not done anything to try to sell the home because I mean, right off the bat, the next day she's like, I do not want to sell. Um, but like I said, I've been trying to reverse it, but she texted us that she does not want to sell, she doesn't want to hear from us. Um, and that's just where it's a little bit iffy if I should maybe do my EMD or create just a blast to my buyers. I mean, just like a pre-marketing blast, just to show like faith that we're actually moving forward with trying to perform.
Yeah, I would say so. Why not? It doesn't hurt, right? Because at the end of the day, you have as a buyer, you have the ability to cancel, right? If you're still within your period, you can cancel. So do what you need to do to be able to move it forward, right? Figure out, is there anybody on your team that is a female?
No.
Can you get someone that you trust that's a female? The reason
Yeah.
why I'm saying this, it's another tactic team. Sometimes people are easier with females. If you have a transaction coordinator who is a female, whether it's actual or not, and you have these disagreements and you have to have a little bit of a difficult conversation, see if you can ease it with a second voice. It doesn't have to be a female. If you're like, no, I literally don't know anybody, everybody I know is my bro, then just a second voice, okay? And that second voice needs to be a little more understanding and curious. Hey, I hear that you don't want to sell anymore. What happened? Can we help you with that? What can we do to support you? A lot of the sellers that we work with, there's other situations going on. We really try to do the right thing. So if it's moving costs, if it's where am I going to go, just let me know and we can figure out how to help you out with that, right? Because sometimes sellers are like, no, I live here and I can't move anywhere because I can't afford it and I have to wait till they close. Well, if you're really, on a next level, think about what is the cost and return on your investment. Can you give them 5,000 up front for all their moving costs and then just take it back as a fee when you close, right? These are things that you can consider, but you don't know if you don't ask. Hey, is there anything else that's stopping you? Right? Because we work with so many situations and so many sellers. It might be that, you have debts that you need to pay off before you can move. It might be that you need cost.
It's frozen again. I
So
kind of
hope,
froze on you already.
sorry. Well, I was saying like, are there other costs that you can help out as long as you know?
Mm-hmm. I have a conversation with her in a little bit, see what I
Yeah.
can from her. Thank you so much, Fatima.
Yeah, absolutely. Get someone else to call her, another number to call her from. Like there's so many different ways that you can get a hold of her, right?
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But other than that, that's up to you. Maybe I might do it depending on what the conversation was.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. Yeah,
Abs-
I'll make a decision on that. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that at least helped you
Yeah, it
consider.
did. It did
Okay.
tremendously. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, team. So at this point, we've talked about what are memos, how to file, where to file. Be aware that it's called something different in different states and counties, right? It protects your interest when you have a contract. Do you have to submit earnest money, good faith money? Maybe talk to your title company. But I want you all to consider the pitfalls. If you don't have the ability to perform, you might get yourself in some hot water if that time comes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So all of this happened. You filed your memo. You're like, I'm performing. The seller is MIA. I try to cure them. I'm like, hey, just give me a call back. I want to help you out. Okay, they ghosted you. They went with somebody else. Oh, y'all, you know someone and it's already happened to you that they ghosted you. You didn't have a I'm sorry, you had your memo, they went with someone else. Guess what? They're trying to close with that other person. They had a better offer. 9 out of 10, they didn't have a better offer, okay? But they had a better offer. Now title's trying to do their title search. Oh, guess what? Their title is clouded because, we're gonna say Salvador because you're the last person I talked to. Salvador has a memo on it. So what's going to happen? That title company is going to be like, "Hey, Salvador, you have a clouded title. What's going on?" 9 out of 10, it's actually not going to be the title company reaching out to you. It's going to be the seller. They'll be like, "Hey, title told me that you have a memo on my house and you need to release it. I'm trying to sell it." Oh, hello, Miss Jenkins. It was so nice to hear from you. How you doing? What happened? How's your daughter, right? So then you're going to make sure that you're talking to them, figuring it out. Let them know it's going to be the seller 9 times out of 10, and you're going to be like, "Hey, I would love to do that. You broke my heart. I really wanted to buy that house. And so yes, per our contract, I filed a memorandum with the county so that I can protect my interest. I really want that house. So, this is what I can do because I am missing out on income, because I am missing out on XYZ. I'll release it for a fee, for a small fee. It's negotiable, right? Because it could be negotiable. And so you can have that conversation. How much is it? How much is it? How much are you going to charge me? And you just dictate whatever you want, right? What is reasonable to you? It could be 10,000, 5,000, 2,500, 500. It really just depends what you want. So you agree on a price that works for you, that is fair for both of you to get it kind of just going and you get a feedback. So what happens? That title company, this is how you release a memo. That title company is gonna have you sign documents that have you releasing that memo. Depends on where you are. You might have to go into title to sign those documents to release. You might have to talk to an online notary to get that. They'll email you the document to sign, to notarize, send back, or they might just email it to you and be like, "Hey, just sign this," or send me an email that you don't want it for their file. It really just depends. Either way, the way if a memo gets released is by the title company who is reaching out to you from clouding the title. So that's how a memo gets released. And then, if y'all remember, I told y'all to give your copy of your purchase agreement to title and hold it. Well, title is not always going to hold it for forever and ever, okay? So that first title company you talk to is probably reaching out to you within 2 months to be like, "Hey, what are we doing with this? Any movement?" So you could cancel it with them. And at that point, hold on to it, whatever your timeline says in your contract, right? And so if you did that, talk to that original title company and be like, "Hey, can we cancel this?" Nice, thanks. Or they'll reach out to you. "Hey, any movement? Can we cancel this?" Especially if you submitted earnest money, they can't hold it into their accounts forever. So they're going to be like, "Hey, you gave us this, you told us to hold off, but you opened title and you gave us earnest money. What are we doing?" They got to make their records fair. So that's all about memos. Additional questions, team? I hope that I hope that made sense. I hope I didn't confuse you, Salvador.
Sorry, I'm coming back to you again, Fatima. So the memo can be placed, let's say I file it within this week, even if my inspection period expires, or if my contract expires, because the seller did not wish to not perform. That's what you're mentioning right now, right? Which I can close title with the escrow company and still have the memorandum in place, correct?
Yes, you can have your memorandum in place. Depending on what your contract says, you want to double check, right? Some contracts don't have anything. Here's my contract. See, I can't find it right. I'm not going to find it right now, but I'll put it in our chat what it says. But basically, double check what your contract says. You want to make sure that what you're looking for. Even real estate contracts have this, right? I'll give you the real estate contract one first because it's easier for me to remember right now than what mine specifically has because I've changed it a couple times. But real estate says, hey, I have a exclusive right to sell your house, Mr. Seller. If for whatever reason we cancel within 30 days of us canceling, if you find your own buyer, you have to pay me my commission. So that's the same concept with your contract and memos. So the only difference is that real estate agents don't have to file memos. They just be like, hey, I got this purchase contract. Here you go, right? Because it's state approved. So in your contract, you need to double check. Does it say something of like, hey, if we were to cancel, or if you find your own buyer and you don't perform, we're gonna auto generate this contract and you're gonna pay my fee. Or I can file a memorandum for my vested interest in the property, right? So just double check, what does your memo say for your contract, or what does it say after cancellation? Did you put in a time period where you can reenact the contract and still get your fee?
Awesome, awesome on that. And the last, very, very last question is, my memorandum has County of Taylor and it has Texas in the contract. I mean, on the top of the memorandum, which is why my notary rejected to sign. Do I look for a mobile notary from Texas?
I love that you brought this up, Salvador, because team, where do memos get filed? Memos get filed in the county of the state where that property is. Okay, that is what they're looking for. So if I want to file a memo and it is in Ohio or in Texas, but I live in Arizona, I cannot file it in Arizona. They're not going to accept it. It has to be filed in Texas, and it has to align with Texas how they want it to. Omid brought up a great point earlier. You can just remove the state and you can just say memorandum. What's the most common one? Memorandum of agreement or notice of interest, right? And so that is at minimum what you want. I would recommend for you, Salvador, if you're not in Texas or if you work with multiple states, just remove that and just make it memorandum of agreement, notice of interest, or have it so that it's fillable and changeable because every state calls it something different, right? And you can just
Awesome,
quickly update that, send it out.
awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm
That's it,
so glad
Fatima.
that
I appreciate it.
no, keep the questions coming because there are no stupid questions, team, especially because there are so many nuances in everything. You don't know what you don't know, and the way that I may explain it may resonate better with you, right? So keep asking the questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Vad?
Um, um, I got a little bit, I missed the information whenever you were explaining how to lift a memo. Whenever the seller is gonna reach out and say, hey, I'm selling the property and we agreed on the price, then do I contact that title company that he's using and I give them some written permission to lift it up? I get lost over here in that
Yeah,
part.
yes, I love that you brought that up again. Yes, to clarify, because I did go through that a little quickly. So once the seller reaches out, because 9 out of 10, when title's doing their search, they're like, oh, what is this? They're gonna let the seller know, go reach out to VAD. So they're gonna be like, hey, VAD, what's going on? Can you release this? I'm trying to sell, right? Once you figure that all out, that title company is going to want you to release that memo. So they're going to give you a couple of different ways I've seen it. They're going to give you a specific document. You might have to go in to sign the document. You might have to use a notary to get it signed and notarized and turn in that document. Or at times, they can easily just ask you to send them an email at any rate. What I'm starting to see is that some instances the title company is going to direct you. The title company is going to direct you on how to do that. Other things that I'm starting to see is that they want you to remove that memo from rescind that memo from county. So don't be alarmed if they come back to you and say, hey, we want you to sign this release form. We're going to file it with county. Can you also go and rescind your document from county? That is starting to happen as well. So Either at the end of the day, that title company that's working with the seller now, they'll tell you what you need to do for the steps to release it. I'm just giving you some examples of what those steps could be.
Okay. And if they ask to resend the original memo with the county, does it cost money, or we just contact the county and say, hey, I would like to lift it up?
Yeah,
Oh,
it'll cost a couple monies. So it'll be like $5, 15, $50, right? It really just depends how you go about it, right? The county recorders, I always call them and be like, "Hey, I need to rescind this memo. What are my steps? How much is that going to cost me? Okay, I can do that." Right? Simple as that. Don't be afraid of call these people. Call these people. Call title. Call escrow. Call the county recorder. Whoever you need to call, don't be afraid to call them.
okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions, team? Okay. Vad?
It was amazing information. I I listen, Fatima, the way how you presented and the value you dropped, it's amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's hopefully I didn't go too fast and it made sense to you all. I appreciate your time and coming here and spending your Saturday morning with me. I know I'm not amazing like Omid, but I'm okay.
You're better. Omid's
Oh,
fired.
Omid's
I
fired.
fired Omid's ass.
We're still recording, Tina. Don't say it.
I'll call him right now and tell him. I'll put it on speaker so your mom can hear. You're fired. I'll tell him.
I love it.
Sure.
Thank you, Fatima.
Absolutely. Team, if you do have any other topics, I have a wealth of knowledge. Throw them in the chat. I'm going to start doing these a little more often as well to support you all and to give Omen a break here and there. Not all Saturdays, but you know. But things that came up today that I do know are deeds. What are deeds? How does that work? What kind of types are there? We also talked about liens. What are liens? How do they work? What kind of liens can I look at? I know some of us are going into land. So, what is land? How does that work? Utilities, right? So, just start thinking about aspects that you in your day to day. Yep, probate. Yes. What is probate? How long does that take? Short sales. We're about to start seeing short sales come due. Really, that's long sales, right? And in case you're like, wait, what even is a short sale? A short sale, we're seeing that. Why? Because people bought high and they're trying to sell. So now they're telling the bank, I can't give you the full money you wanted. The bank is going to take a short on that account. So that's really much a short sale. But I know about those as well. Let me know what other topics you guys want to hear about. I can put it together. Vad?
All of this, yes. Let's start with
Yes.
all of this.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you all. All right. Bye, team.
Have
Thank
a
you.
good weekend, Fatima.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.